I walked into my mother's living room carrying 2 trays of homemade pastries, cinnamon rolls and almond croissants that had taken me 4 hours to make. The house smelled like pine from the wreath on the door, and Christmas music played softly from the kitchen radio. Then I saw them. My older brother Kyle and my sister Brianna, stuffing expensive ski jackets into resort-branded bags. The kind of bags you get from luxury mountain lodges. They froze when they noticed me, guilt flashing across their faces before they could hide it. My mother appeared in the doorway, her face tight with something that looked almost like panic. "Marina, we didn't expect you so early." "I texted that I was coming," I said slowly, setting down the trays. "What's going on?" The words came out fast, rehearsed. "Christmas is cancelled this year. We're just too broke for a big gathering. Times are tough, you know how it is." A glossy resort brochure slipped from Kyle's bag and hit the hardwood floor. Snow-capped mountains, luxury suites, 5-star dining. My stomach dropped. "My name is Marina Kale. I'm 32 years old, work as a graphic designer, and I've never missed a family Christmas in my entire life." This was the moment my family quietly cut me out of Christmas. I bent down and picked up the brochure with shaking hands. The resort was called Pinecrest Summit, 4 hours north, known for being expensive and exclusive. As I flipped through the pages, a printed confirmation sheet fell out. Booking confirmation for the Kale family. December 23rd through 27th. Premium Lodge Suite. For guests. My eyes scanned down to the payment breakdown, and my blood turned to ice. The deposit amount matched exactly what I'd contributed to our family holiday fund over the past 6 months. Actually, it was more than that. My contributions covered over 60% of the total cost. "What is this?" I held up the paper, my voice barely steady. Kyle grabbed for it, but I pulled back. "Marina, it's not what you think. You used the Christmas fund." My voice came out flat. "The fund I've been paying into. For a trip without me." My mother's face hardened. "You're being too emotional. We can talk about this later." "Too emotional," I repeated, stunned. "You just stole my money for a vacation I'm not invited to." Brianna rolled her eyes. "God, Marina. Always so dramatic." I left the house shaking so badly I had to sit in my car for 10 minutes before I could drive. That night I sat on my couch staring at my phone, replaying everything in my mind. Around 9 o'clock, my phone buzzed with a text notification. It was from my cousin Austin, my mother's nephew, someone I barely talked to. The message was brief. "I think this was meant for someone else. Thought you should see it." Attached was a screenshot of a group chat I'd never seen before. The name at the top made my chest tight. "Christmas without Marina." The messages were brutal. "Kyle. Thank God we don't have to deal with her baking again. She acts like those pastries are some gift from heaven." "Brianna. She's so clingy. Always trying to make everything about family bonding. It's exhausting." "My mother. The trip will be more peaceful without her. We can actually relax." There were laughing emojis. Agreement. Plans for what they'd do together while I presumably sat at home alone, thinking Christmas was cancelled. I read through every message twice, then set my phone down and cried silently in my dark apartment. Not loud, gasping sobs, just quiet tears that wouldn't stop coming. My own family had created a group chat specifically to plan a Christmas without me. The next morning my phone rang. Aunt Rowan, my father's sister, someone I hadn't spoken to in months. She lived 2 states away and usually only called on birthdays. "Marina, honey, I heard something that worried me," she said without preamble. "Are you okay? How did you?" "Austin told his mother, who told me. And Marina, I need you to know something." She paused, and I heard her take a breath. "This isn't the first time they've done this. This isn't the first time they've planned to exclude you." My hand tightened on the phone. "What do you mean?" "There were many Christmases when you were younger, when your father was still alive, where your mother tried to organize adults-only trips. Your father always shut it down. He insisted you be included in everything." Her voice was gentle but firm. After he died, there was nothing stopping her. Felt dizzy. How many times? At least 3 that I know of. They just never went through with it because someone would object or the money wouldn't work out. But they've been wanting to do this for years. This betrayal wasn't spontaneous. It wasn't a one-time mistake. It was years in the making, just waiting for the right moment. I needed answers. Real answers. So I went to the bank where we'd set up the joint family holiday account 3 years ago. Something my mother had insisted on so everyone could contribute to making Christmas special. I'd contributed faithfully. Every month. Sometimes extra during good months at work. The banker, a middle-aged man named Mr. Holloway, pulled up the account history and his face shifted into something like concern. Ms. Kale, I need to inform you that there was a digital withdrawal authorization made last week. The full balance, nearly $3,800, was transferred to an external account. I didn't authorize that, I said immediately. According to our records, the approval came from your account access. But, he clicked through screens, frowning. The timestamp shows the authorization was made on Tuesday at 2:15 p.m. I was at work. I have timesheets that prove it. His frown deepened. Then someone may have accessed your account without permission. That's identity fraud, Ms. Kale. Would you like to file a report? Cold, heavy clarity settled over me. One of my siblings had forged my digital approval. They'd stolen from me, then lied to my face about why Christmas was cancelled. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a crime. I drove straight to my mother's house, walking in without knocking because I still had a key. They were in the kitchen eating lunch. Leftover casserole I'd made 2 weeks ago. We need to talk, I said, planting myself in the doorway. Someone used my account access to drain the holiday fund. The bank has timestamps. I want to know who did it. The room went silent. Kyle and Brianna exchanged glances. My mother set down her fork slowly. Marina, you're overreacting again, she said calmly. We made a family decision to reallocate those funds. You can't reallocate my money without my permission. That's theft. Theft. Brianna laughed sharply. Oh my God, you're unbelievable. My mother stood up, and suddenly Kyle and Brianna flanked her like a wall. United. Against me. You don't have kids, my mother said, her voice cold. You don't need a big Christmas. We have families to think about. We have children who deserve a nice holiday. So I deserve nothing. Nobody answered. They just stared at me like I was a stranger causing problems in their house. I left feeling completely erased. Like I'd never been part of this family at all. I spent that evening sitting on my apartment balcony, wrapped in a blanket, watching the city lights. Around 7 my doorbell rang. It was Mrs. Albright, my elderly neighbor from across the hall. She was holding a tin of cookies and wearing a concerned expression. I heard crying last night, dear, she said gently. I hope I'm not intruding, but I wanted to make sure you were all right. I let her in, and somehow the whole story came pouring out. The cancelled Christmas. The stolen money. The secret group chat. She listened without interrupting, then set down her teacup and took my hand. My daughter did something similar to me 12 years ago, she said quietly. Cut me out of Thanksgiving because I didn't fit the aesthetic of her new in-laws. I spent that holiday crying. But the next year I created my own Thanksgiving. Invited the people who actually cared. And Marina, it was the best holiday of my life. She squeezed my hand. Create a Christmas you deserve. Not the one they're denying you. One that's actually yours. Something inside me steadied, shifted, strengthened. Maybe she was right. Maybe this was an opportunity, not just a loss. The next day I decided to start fresh. I went to my storage unit to get my box of Christmas decorations. Ornaments collected over 30 years, many with memories attached. The box felt lighter than I remembered. When I opened it, my heart sank. Half the ornaments were gone. The special ones. The hand-painted glass balls my grandmother made. The wooden nutcracker from my first Christmas. The delicate angel my father gave me the year before he died. All missing. called Brianna. Did you take ornaments from my storage box? Oh, those. Her voice was casual, unbothered. Yeah, Kyle and I split them last year. You weren't using them, and we have kids who actually appreciate Christmas decorations. We deserved them more. She hung up before I could respond. I sat on the concrete floor of the storage unit, surrounded by empty spaces where precious memories used to be, and I broke down completely, sobbing into my hands, mourning not just the ornaments but everything they represented. My family had been erasing me piece by piece for years, and I'd been too busy trying to please them to notice. But when the tears finally stopped, something changed. I stood up, wiped my face, and made a decision. This year I start fresh. This year I build something new. I went to the local holiday market downtown. Rows of vendors selling handmade crafts, baked goods, and Christmas decorations. The air smelled like cinnamon and pine, and children ran between stalls laughing. I walked slowly, looking at everything until one ornament caught my eye. A simple glass star, perfectly clear, catching the afternoon light and throwing tiny rainbows. That one's special, the vendor said, an older man with kind eyes. I make them myself. Each one represents new beginnings. I'll take it, I said, and something about holding that star in my hand felt significant, like I was choosing something for myself, finally. On the way home, I stopped and bought a small artificial tree. Nothing expensive, just something simple and beautiful. That evening, I set it up in my apartment and placed the glass star on top. For the first time in weeks, I felt peace. I decided right then, I would host a Christmas Eve dinner. Not for my blood family, but for the people who'd actually been kind to me. Co-workers who checked on me. Neighbors like Mrs. Albright. And Aunt Roanne if she could make it. A Christmas built on actual love, not obligation. The next morning, I sat down at my computer and opened the online banking portal for the joint holiday account. I stared at the screen for a long moment, my finger hovering over the mouse. Then, quietly and without drama, I revoked everyone else's access. My mother's, Gail's, Brianna's. The account was technically in my name. I'd set it up initially and just added them as authorized users, which meant I had every legal right to remove them. I transferred my portion of the remaining funds, what little hadn't been stolen yet, into my personal savings account. About $400. Not much, but it was mine. No confrontation. No angry message. Just a boundary set firmly and finally. They had no idea what I'd just done. And I didn't plan to tell them. Let them find out on their own when they tried to take more money that no longer belonged to them. For the first time in this whole nightmare, I felt a flicker of power, of control, of agency. I wasn't their victim anymore. I was protecting myself, and it felt good. It took less than 3 hours for the chaos to start. My phone began buzzing with frantic messages in the main family group chat, the one I was actually included in. Kyle, why can't I access the holiday account? Brianna, did the bank freeze it? What's going on? Kyle, I'm getting an error message saying I don't have authorization. My mother texted me separately, her message appearing on my screen with an almost audible urgency. Marina, fix the account immediately. We need those funds for the Christmas trip. Whatever you did, undo it now. I stared at the messages for a moment, feeling strangely calm. Then I turned off my phone completely. Silence filled my apartment. Real silence, not just quiet. No buzzing. No demands. No guilt. I made myself tea and sat by my small Christmas tree, watching the glass star catch the afternoon light. They could panic all they wanted. They could demand and threaten and accuse. But I was done being their backup plan, their ATM machine, their convenient scapegoat. The account was mine. The money was mine. And my peace of mind was finally, absolutely mine. Let them figure it out themselves. Over the next few days, my apartment slowly transformed. I bought a small but beautiful artificial tree and decorated it with new ornaments I chose myself. No history, no painful memories, just things that made me happy. I strung lights around my bookshelf, put a wreath on my door, set up a small nativity scene on my windowsill. Most importantly, I started reaching out to people about my Christmas Eve dinner. My coworker Hannah immediately said yes. So did my neighbor Mrs. Albright, and 2 other neighbors I'd helped with groceries over the years. I called Aunt Roanne, and she surprised me by saying she'd drive up 8 hours just to be there. "You're finally choosing yourself, Marina," she said warmly. "I wouldn't miss it for the world." I planned a menu: roasted chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, green beans with almonds, fresh rolls, and a chocolate cake for dessert. Nothing fancy, but everything made with care. As I wrote out the menu and shopping list, something unexpected happened. I started feeling excited. Actually excited about Christmas, in a way I hadn't felt in years. This celebration would be small, but it would be real. Full of people who actually wanted me there. That was worth more than any luxury resort. Aunt Rowan came to visit a week before Christmas, arriving at my door with a suitcase and a serious expression. "We need to talk," she said after I made us tea. "About your father." My chest tightened. My father had died 7 years ago, suddenly, from a heart attack. I still missed him every day. "Your father left money," Rowan said carefully. "Specifically for you. For your future Christmases. He set up a separate account before he died and told me about it in case anything happened. He wanted to make sure you always had something, no matter what." I stared at her. "I never saw any money." "I know. Because your mother was the executor of his estate, and she had access to everything. That account had nearly $12,000 in it, Marina. It was supposed to be untouchable, just for you." Rowan's face was pained. She spent every penny over the years. On things for Kyle and Brianna's kids, on home renovations, on vacations. Your father's gift to you was stolen before you ever knew it existed. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. My father had tried to take care of me even after death, and my mother had stolen it. "I should have fought harder," Rowan whispered. "I should have told you sooner. I'm so sorry." I hugged her tightly, tears streaming down both our faces. The betrayal went deeper than I'd ever imagined. 2 days later, Kyle and Brianna showed up at my apartment unannounced. I heard pounding on my door and opened it to find them both standing there looking furious. "We need to talk," Kyle said, pushing past me without invitation. "Now." "About what?" I asked, closing the door but staying near it. "The account," Brianna snapped. "You locked us out. You took the money. We need you to unlock it immediately." "I didn't take anything that wasn't mine," I said calmly. "I removed my contributions and closed your access. That account was set up in my name. I have every legal right to manage it." "You're ruining the trip." Kyle's face was red. "We've already paid the deposit. We've made promises to the kids. That's not my problem. You used my money without permission. That's called theft." Brianna laughed bitterly. "Theft? We're family, Marina. Family shares. Family also includes each other in Christmas," I said quietly. "Family doesn't create group chats mocking each other. Family doesn't steal and lie." They stared at me like I'd become someone they didn't recognize. "Fix the account," Kyle demanded, "or you're going to regret this." "I already regret trusting any of you," I replied and opened the door. "Please leave." They didn't move for a long moment, then finally stormed out. I closed the door mid-sentence as Brianna started shouting something about family loyalty. The silence after they left was beautiful. As they were leaving, Kyle turned back one last time. His face twisted with anger and desperation. "We promised the resort the full payment, Mayor," he shouted. "Mom even used your name to sign the second commitment form. They're expecting payment from you too." Brianna grabbed his arm, her face going pale. "Kyle, shut up." But it was too late. The words hung in the air between us. My mother had used my name, my identity, my signature, on legal documents I'd never seen or agreed to. "Get out," I said quietly and closed the door. I stood there for a moment, my heart pounding, then walked to my desk and pulled out a notebook. I wrote down everything Kyle had just said, word for word, with the date and time. Then I documented everything else. The stolen account access, the forged withdrawal authorization, the secret group chat, the missing ornaments, the money my father had left me. Every betrayal, every lie, every theft. All of it written down clearly, dated and organized. They just admitted to identity fraud. And I had proof now. Not just suspicions but actual evidence. I wasn't just protecting myself anymore. I was building a case. The next afternoon, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Is this Marina Kale? A professional woman's voice. Yes, who's calling? This is Samantha Reeves from Pinecrest Summit Resort. We have a question about your reservation's payment documentation. My stomach dropped. I don't have a reservation with you. There was a pause. According to our records, you're listed as the primary guest and cardholder for a booking made by Diane Kale. However, we've noticed some irregularities with the signature on the secondary commitment form. The handwriting doesn't match your card authorization. My hands went cold. Can you send me a copy of that form? Of course. I'm emailing it now. I opened my laptop and watched the email arrive. The attached PDF showed a commitment form for the remaining balance. Over $4,000, signed with my name. But it wasn't my signature. It was close but wrong. Someone had forged it. Ms. Kale, if this isn't your signature, we need to open a case. Resort policy requires. It's not my signature, I interrupted, my voice shaking. Someone forged it. My family used my identity without my permission. I see. I'm very sorry. We'll need to involve our legal department. They tried to trap me with debt I'd never agreed to. This betrayal could have destroyed me financially and legally. After hanging up with the resort, I sat at my kitchen table feeling numb. Then my phone started ringing. My mother. Again. And again. I let it go to voicemail. Then listened. Marina, please call me back. The resort is asking questions. There's been some confusion about the paperwork. Just call them and confirm everything is fine. Please. Second voicemail an hour later. Marina, this is serious. They're threatening penalties. You need to fix this. Call me back immediately. Third voicemail, her voice cracking. Marina, please. I know we've had our differences, but we're family. Don't do this to us. Don't ruin Christmas for everyone. Please just call the resort and tell them it's all a misunderstanding. Never an apology. Never I'm sorry I stole from you. Never I was wrong to exclude you. Just panic about facing consequences for her own actions. The fourth voicemail came late that night. Fine. If you won't help us, we'll figure it out ourselves. But you're destroying this family, Marina. I hope you can live with that. I saved all the voicemails, backed them up to the cloud, and then did something I'd never thought I'd do. I blocked all their numbers. My mother. Brianna. All of them. The silence that followed was profound and peaceful. December 23rd arrived, and with it came acceptance texts from all my Christmas Eve dinner invitees. Hannah was bringing wine. The couple from downstairs was bringing a salad. Mrs. Albright was making her famous apple pie. Aunt Roanne was already on the road. My tiny apartment would be full of people tomorrow night. People who actually wanted to be there. People who saw me as worthy of celebration. I spent the day decorating. Handmade paper garlands, second-hand ornaments from the thrift store, candles in mason jars. Nothing matched perfectly, but somehow that made it more beautiful. More real. I set up my small dining table with mismatched chairs borrowed from neighbors. Put out my grandmother's old tablecloth that I'd managed to keep. Arranged simple white candles down the center. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't Instagram perfect. But looking at it, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Pride. This was mine. I'd created this myself, for people I genuinely cared about. My phone buzzed with a final message that had somehow gotten through before I'd blocked everyone. My brother. We're leaving for the resort tomorrow. Hope you're happy. I looked at the message, felt a brief sting, then felt something else. Relief. They were gone. Could finally breathe. I deleted the message and turned off my phone. Christmas Eve morning arrived clear and cold. I woke early and started cooking, the kitchen filling with the smell of herbs and roasting chicken, fresh bread and chocolate. Around noon there was a notification on my phone. A text that had somehow been sent before I'd completed the blocking process. A final passive-aggressive message from Kyle. "We're going without you. Hope you're happy now." Hope it was worth destroying the family. I stared at the message, expecting to feel hurt. Expecting guilt or regret or pain. Instead, I felt a wave of relief so powerful it almost made me dizzy. They were gone. Actually gone. Off to their resort 4 hours away, too far to show up at my door. Too busy with their luxury vacation to bother me. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe without waiting for the next confrontation. Without wondering when they'd show up demanding something. Without carrying the weight of their judgment. They'd meant the message to hurt me. To make me feel excluded and abandoned. But all I felt was free. I deleted the message, finished blocking the last number I'd missed, and went back to cooking. My real family, my chosen family, would arrive in a few hours. And I couldn't wait. By 6 o'clock that evening, my apartment was transformed. Candles flickered on every surface. The small Christmas tree glowed in the corner. The table was set beautifully with mismatched dishes that somehow looked perfect together. People started arriving. Hannah brought wine and flowers. Mrs. Albright came early with her famous apple pie and helped me finish cooking. The couple from downstairs brought a fresh salad and warm bread. 2 co-workers I'd invited brought dessert and Christmas crackers. And then Aunt Rowan arrived, looking tired from her 8-hour drive but beaming with pride. "Look at what you've created," she whispered, hugging me tightly. "Look at this beautiful celebration." We ate until we were stuffed. We talked and laughed until our voices were hoarse. We shared stories and jokes and memories. The apartment filled with warmth and joy and genuine connection. At one point, Aunt Rowan stood up and raised her glass of wine. "A toast," she announced, and everyone went quiet. To Marina, for having the courage to choose herself. For building something beautiful out of heartbreak. This is the first Christmas where Marina finally put her own happiness first. And it's the most beautiful Christmas I've ever attended. Everyone clinked glasses. People cheered. And I found myself crying, but these were good tears. Healing tears. This wasn't the Christmas I'd planned. But it was perfect. Late that night, after everyone had left and I was cleaning up, I found myself scrolling through my photos. Pictures of the evening, people laughing around my table, Mrs. Albright teaching Hannah how to make pie crust, Aunt Rowan telling stories about my father. Everyone looked genuinely happy. Nobody was on their phone. Nobody was forcing smiles. This was real joy captured in simple moments. On impulse, I chose my favorite photo. Everyone gathered around my small Christmas tree, holding glasses, genuinely happy, and posted it online with a simple caption. Sometimes family isn't blood. Sometimes family is who shows up when everyone else walks away. Grateful for these beautiful humans who made tonight magical. I put my phone down and finished cleaning, not thinking much about it. When I woke up on Christmas morning and checked my phone, I had thousands of notifications. My post had gone viral overnight. Comments poured in from strangers sharing their own stories of being excluded by family, of creating new traditions, of finding chosen family. Messages arrived from people thanking me for putting into words what they'd felt but couldn't express. My inbox was full of love from complete strangers who understood exactly what I'd been through. Somewhere out there, thousands of people had seen my story and felt less alone. I wasn't alone either. Not even close. While my post was spreading hope across the internet, my blood family situation was collapsing 4 hours north. I learned about it later from Aunt Rowan, who heard from her sister, who heard from a neighbor who happened to be at the same resort. My family had arrived at Pinecrest Summit on Christmas Eve afternoon, excited and ready for their luxury vacation. They pulled up to the beautiful lodge, unloaded their expensive ski equipment, and walked confidently to the check-in desk. That's when everything fell apart. The resort manager, Samantha, the woman I'd spoken with, was waiting for them. She explained that due to the forged signature investigation, they would need to pay the full remaining balance up front before check-in. No exceptions. My mother pulled out her credit card. Declined. Kyle tried his. Declined. Brianna tried hers. Also declined. Without the money from the holiday account, the money they'd stolen from me and I'd taken back, they couldn't cover the costs. They'd been counting on using that money to pay the balance. The resort demanded immediate payment or cancellation with heavy penalties. According to the neighbor who witnessed it, my mother had a complete meltdown in the lobby. Screaming, crying, demanding to speak to corporate, threatening lawsuits. The entire lobby full of holiday guests watched. Their perfect Christmas crumbled publicly and spectacularly. They were forced to leave. No refund. No vacation. Just humiliation. They came back on Christmas Day. Furious, embarrassed, and looking for someone to blame. Around 8 p.m. there was aggressive pounding on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw all three of them, my mother, Kyle, and Brianna, standing in the hallway looking livid. I took a deep breath, straightened my shoulders, and opened the door halfway. I didn't invite them in. "We need to talk," my mother said, her voice tight with barely controlled rage. "No, we don't." My voice was calm. "Teddy, you destroyed our Christmas," Phil shouted. "You got us kicked out of the resort." "I didn't do anything to you," I said quietly. "You did this to yourselves. You locked the account," Brianna accused. "You sabotaged us." "I protected myself from theft. There's a difference." I reached behind me and pulled out a folder I'd prepared. Copies of every piece of evidence, neatly organized and labeled. I handed it to my mother. Her face went pale as she flipped through the pages. "I know everything," I said softly. "The forged signature. The unauthorized account access. The money Dad left me that you spent. The years of planning to exclude me. The secret group chat. All of it." My mother stared at me like she'd never seen me before. "If you ever try to blame me or damage my reputation, I'll make sure everyone knows the truth. I have documentation of everything." "Marina," my mother started, her voice breaking. "I don't hate you," I interrupted gently. "I'm just done. Done being treated like I don't matter. Done being your backup plan. Done pretending we're a family when you've never treated me like one." I stepped back and quietly closed the door. Locked it. Behind the door I heard my mother start crying. But I didn't open it again. The truth spread quickly. Aunt Rowan made sure of it. On Boxing Day, the day after Christmas, extended family gathered at my uncle's house for their traditional post-Christmas party. My mother, Kyle, and Brianna showed up expecting sympathy, expecting to spin the story their way. Instead, they walked into a room where Aunt Rowan had already told everyone the truth. She'd stood up in front of the entire family and explained everything. The stolen holiday fund, the forged documents, the money from my father that my mother had taken, the Christmas without Marina group chat, the years of planned exclusion. She'd brought copies of the evidence I'd given her. She'd shown them proof. My mother tried to defend herself, claiming I was exaggerating, being dramatic. But the evidence didn't lie. Forged signatures don't exaggerate. Bank records don't have emotions. Kyle and Brianna started turning on each other, arguing about whose idea it was, who suggested excluding me, who actually forged the signature. Their united front crumbled in front of everyone. Cousins who'd always admired my mother's close family now saw the truth. Relatives who'd envied their relationship realized it was built on excluding someone. Their reputation collapsed. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't there to absorb the blame or smooth things over. I was at home, peaceful and free, having leftover pie with Mrs. Albright. The days after Christmas were quiet and peaceful. I didn't hear from my mother or siblings. Whether from shame or because they were still blocked, I didn't know. And I didn't care enough to find out. On December 28th, I hosted a small post-Christmas brunch for everyone who'd come to my Christmas Eve dinner. We ate cinnamon rolls and quiche, exchanged small gifts, and made plans for New Year's Eve. Hannah gave me a journal with a quote on the cover. "The best revenge is living well." That afternoon, I researched local volunteer opportunities and signed up for a holiday charity program that helped low-income families. Starting in January, I'd help coordinate gift drives and celebrations for families who needed them. I also opened a new savings account labeled Future Christmas Traditions. I set up automatic deposits, small amounts every week that would grow into holidays built on my own terms. As I sat at my desk making these plans, I felt something profound shift inside me. Freedom. Not just from my family's manipulation, but from needing their approval to feel worthy. I'd found people who celebrated me authentically. I'd created traditions that honored my own values. Chosen myself finally and completely. New Year's Eve arrived, and I spent it quietly with Mrs. Albright, watching the countdown on TV. As midnight struck and fireworks lit up the sky outside my window, I whispered to my reflection, "They tried to cancel Christmas. But instead they canceled their hold on me. I didn't lose a family. I outgrew them. And that made all the difference."